Today, President Donald Trump's ties to Jeffrey Epstein are back in the spotlight thanks to thousands of pages of emails released by both Republicans and Democrats in Congress. Cenk, what are your 2 cents?
Oh boy, is the beginning of my 2 cents. So we're super damning emails, but I think that there are really interesting nuggets in here, like why were reporters looking to help Jeffrey Epstein? And whether Trump is involved or not, and there's a lot of evidence here, but I would say mainly in one direction, but there is one piece of counter evidence too that I want to make sure that you guys see. But whether he's involved or not, who organized this whole thing is the main question that I have. So let's give you all the details and then break down all the interesting parts that others might have missed.
Yeah, well, this morning, Democrats in the House Oversight Committee released a new batch of Epstein emails, and 3 of them are especially interesting. The first was an email that Epstein sent to Ghislaine Maxwell in 2011. I want you to realize that dog that hasn't barked is Trump. Victim spent hours at my house with him. He has never once been mentioned. Police chief, etc. I'm 75% there. In response, Press Secretary Caroline Leavitt stated the unnamed victim referenced in these emails is the late Virginia Giuffre, who repeatedly said President Trump was not involved in any wrongdoing whatsoever and couldn't have been friendlier to her in their limited interactions. Now, here is the second email which Epstein sent to journalist Michael Wolff in 2019. Trump said he asked me to resign, never a member ever. Of course, he knew about the girls as he asked Ghislaine to stop. Finally, here is an email exchange between Epstein and Wolff from 2015 when Trump was first running for president. Wolff, I hear CNN planning to ask Trump tonight about his relationship with you, either on air or in scrum afterwards. Epstein, if we were able to craft an answer for him, what do you think it should be? Wolff, I think you should let him hang himself. If he says he hasn't been on the plane or to the house, then that gives you a valuable PR and political currency. You can hang him in a way that potentially generates a positive benefit for you. Or if it really looks like he could win, you could save him, generating a debt. Now, Cenk, there are many, many more emails released by the Republicans later today, but what are your first thoughts on those 3 released by House Oversight Democrats?
I'm gonna give you one more interaction that Epstein had with a reporter to give you the context for what I'm gonna say about Michael Wolff. There's apparently a New York Times reporter, Landon Thomas Jr., who also tipped off Epstein in the emails saying, hey, someone is looking into finding out more about you and he might write a book and I'm giving you a heads up, etc. Why is a New York Times reporter coordinating with Jeffrey Epstein and giving him information to protect him? That is super weird. His name is, like I said, Landon Thomas Jr. He's no longer with the New York Times now, but that was pretty recent that happened. And then Michael Wolff, so-called intrepid journalist, going and strategizing with Epstein. Should we put a dagger in Trump's back or shouldn't we? How should we handle this? Who's we? Who the hell's we? What's going on here? This is super strange. And should we take out Trump now or should we use it as leverage against him later? Who the F is we? Why is Michael Wolff working with Epstein on this? And he's supposed to be like, oh, tough journalist, and he's been charged with not getting his facts right on attacks he's made against Donald Trump, etc. We stopped using him as a source because we thought he's unreliable. We're not going to quote a guy who's unreliable. And so that didn't have anything to do with politics. I'm against Trump, but he said things about Trump that didn't check out. I'm like, I'm done with him. And apparently we were right. So then Michael Wolff is asked about it today and he gives an answer. And in his discussion about it, he keeps saying over and over again, Now we see the real issue here, and the only question is, did Donald Trump know? Was he involved in this plot? Why are you telling me that's the only question? Isn't it weird? Like, so, okay, brother, you are working with Epstein to cover up Epstein's crimes, even though you're a journalist. And now you come out and you go, aha, you see how it's definitely not me. Forget Epstein, forget anyone else organizing this. It's Donald Trump, which makes me think, wait, I guess it's not Donald Trump. Okay, so now look, guys, whether it's Donald Trump, I don't know. And if you say, hey, wait, Cenk, how could you not know? But look at all this damning stuff, right? No question, there's tons of damning stuff here. And could Trump have done it? I mean, how many times did Trump talk about how much he likes young girls? Super awkward, not just how he knows that Jeffrey Epstein likes young girls, but Trump would often comment to a very young girl, oh, you're gonna be hot when you grow up. And comments about his own daughter, etc. And did Trump know that Epstein was doing something with young girls that was not right? Oh, of course he knew. He literally said, there's a quote of him saying, and Jeffrey likes women as much as you, but he likes them on the younger side. You're saying it publicly, right? And here's a quote where Epstein said in the emails, the one that Jordan read to you a minute ago, of course he knew about the girls. That's Epstein saying, of course he knew about the girls. So wait, where's the part where I'm a little skeptical whether Trump did it? The very next thing, if you notice, was he said, of course he knew about the girls as he asked Ghislaine to stop. Why did Trump ask Ghislaine Maxwell to stop? That's a good question, right? And so now, of course, Trump will say, and Trump's followers will say, oh, that's because he's the one guy who stood up to him. But when reporters asked Trump, he said, yeah, they were taking the girls from Mar-a-Lago. They were masseuses at Mar-a-Lago. I didn't like that. Oh, you idiot. Thank you for at least that confession, right? It would have been so easy to say, oh, I'm stopping the bad guy. But since he has verbal diarrhea, he just said what was actually in his mind, which is like, they were taking my young girls and moving him over to Epstein's, right? So, but to me, Jordan, like whether Trump did it is of course super relevant, I get it, right? But what's much more relevant is who the hell organized this giant scheme in the middle of America to molest and rape American girls on video and make sure that you have super wealthy, super powerful men on tape committing this awful crime. And other than Drop Site News and us and a couple other outlets, I mean, mainstream media is preposterous. They're pretending like, oh, what do you mean? It was just Epstein and Maxwell. It couldn't possibly be anyone else. I'll get to Drop Site News and their incredible revelations in a second. But what do you think about all that?
I don't have a reason to doubt Drop Site's reporting. Sure, I guess. I've long maintained when you talk about, or you or anybody, oh, Mossad's behind this. Yeah, could be. I'd want to see more reporting, more evidence. That's all. But I don't think it's worth it for me anyway. Speculating and then just running with it. So I'm not saying you're doing that, but I would like to see more reporting on that. Wouldn't surprise me at this point.
Yeah, so I'm gonna come back to Trump in a second. So I referenced it, Jordan just referenced this, so let me just explain. Drop Site News has 4 articles about Epstein's connections to Mossad. So Epstein, turns out, was way more powerful than I even realized. And so he was Ehud Barak, the former head of intelligence for Israel, former defense minister for Israel, former prime minister for Israel. Not only did he come and visit with Epstein 30 times, he's all over the emails, they're constantly communicating. Not only that, there was a guy who is a current Israeli intelligence operative that was also working with them and would run errands for Ehud Barak, and he'd worked with Barak for a long time, and then also doing things with Epstein. And then Barak would go to Epstein to help him with different international relationships, including with Vladimir Putin. And Epstein would then organize those meetings. Okay, first, stop right there. That means he has more power than the former Israeli prime minister. And the Israeli prime ministers are pretty much the most powerful people on earth. He had more power than them? Jesus, okay? So then he organizes that deal, and what is it about? And you see it in the emails, not just these newly released emails, but the ones that Drop Site News got. And that's Ryan Grim, Jeremy Scahill, unimpeachable reporters, the best reporters in the country. And so it turns out that why they were trying to get in touch with Putin was because they wanted to topple Assad's regime. They wanted to say that he used chemical weapons, and they wanted it to be a red line, and they were insistent on red line, make sure everybody's talking about red line, so that if he crosses it, America has to go in and topple the Syrian government on behalf of Israel. And plus, they wanted America to attack Iran, yes, back then as well. And so Epstein is managing the relationships to make sure America does what Israel wants, which is war in Syria and Iran. Now, that is already like amazing news, unbelievable news, and corroborated in their own emails. But what's extra amazing is what Jordan alluded to there. Mainstream media hasn't covered it at all. How could you not cover that story? That's unconscionable. Are you reporters or are you not reporters? I mean, no one can say that's not a giant story. That's as big a story as I've ever heard. Epstein is just a national story that will not stop under any circumstance. And we have evidence that Epstein is working with Israel to get America to go into these wars, and that's not relevant? No. He's working with an intelligence officer, that's Mossad. He's working with the former head of Mossad. He's working with the former prime minister of Israel. He, by the way, in his house, just in case it wasn't clear, giant map of Israel right in the middle, right? But mainstream media goes, shh, it's Trump, it's definitely Trump, it's only Trump. Don't look at anyone else, just Trump. No, I don't know if it's Trump, but I do know it ain't just Trump. I mean, I saw a news article today, preposterous, where they wrote, well, it could be Trump, and obviously the people who organized this are just Epstein and Maxwell. I mean, there's Prince Andrew as well, but Prince Andrew is that's the only other person that was involved. Nah, that's not news, that's propaganda. And so, what the F is going on here? Every time you ring the bell below, an angel gets his wings. Totally not true, but it does keep you updated on our live shows.